Today I have Monica and Patrick from Urgent House Calls Florida on the podcast today, and I am super excited to kind of learn more about their business. I think the service that they provide for the community is super unique, and it's a great resource, a great value for people, for families in the community, and just hearing some of the stories that they have of people and families that they've been able to help since they've been in business for this short time. They started their business in March of 2022, and kind of what they do and who they've been able to help and how much people appreciate what they're doing, I think is really cool to hear and really cool to learn about. So let's jump right into it. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with Monica and Patrick. Let's do it. Welcome to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I'm your host, Florida native and real estate ninja, Donnie Hathaway. You know, I started this podcast because I'm extremely passionate about connecting you with the people and the local businesses that make Palm Harbor so special. Palm Harbor, Florida is a great place to live, work, and play. It has everything you could dream of, from the food, the outdoors, the lifestyle, to the people in the community. I wanted to create a podcast that connected the community and inspired everyone to live better. To join this community and stay up to date on all things Palm Harbor, visit my website, it's palmharborlocal.com, and sign up there to join the locals. And remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local. So welcome, Monica and Patrick. I appreciate you guys being here today.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of learn more about what you guys do. I think it's a great resource, a great value for the Palm Harbor community and surrounding communities, and it's pretty cool to kind of learn more about what you guys do. So cool. So why don't we, before we talk about urgent house calls, let's talk about your background and how you even got to this point in the first place.
Go ahead, you start.
Working emergency room, 4 different emergency rooms throughout Florida. So you get to the point where you see a lot of people that just don't want to go in the emergency room anymore, the waitings. And I basically, COVID hit, of course, and everybody kind of literally got hit with the effects of it, job-wise, being furloughed that are not being furloughed. Yeah, lifestyles, everything changed. So Patrick and I were still working in first responder and emergency medicine. So, you know, we started looking back at it. We're like, what are we doing? He was like, we have the skill set. We have the ability. Why would we not provide these services for people in the home? And so, you know, I've worked pediatrics in clinic. I've done emergency medicine, pediatrics, all the way to adults. So we have a lot of everything when you work emergency medicine. You don't know what's coming in the door. Mm-hmm. So we said, well, we could suture people at home. We could open up an abscess at home. We could, you know, go in and evaluate them with COVID, without COVID, illnesses, and then IV fluids, everything. So we really started going down a rabbit hole, if you will. And he's like, hey, we could do this, we could do that. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. You know, I had to actually reel him back in a little bit because he just started blowing up things. And I said, let's do this. And
yeah.
Well, and you know, I was a firefighter paramedic for 12 years. Okay. And so I was very comfortable doing, you know, the emergency or urgent care type of care in a patient's home. And so when it comes to doctors or physicians or PAs, you know, we're used to patients coming to you, to the hospital, to your clinic, to the urgent care, and it's your comfort zone. So, you know,
it's a controlled environment. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And so, you know, we got lucky enough, and we've got 2 girls that are also PAs that we've hired on that are awesome. And, you know, it's hard finding good people, number one.
Sure.
And then 2, finding good people that are willing to go outside their wheelhouse of what's normal and what's comfortable to them, because it is uncomfortable going to a patient's home, you know, and so you're there, you know, by yourself and going into another environment. But we understand that there's a people don't want to go to the ER if they don't have to.
Right.
And since COVID, it really changed people's attitudes towards being around a bunch of other sick people. So we understood that there was this kind of gap in care where you wanted to make a meeting with your doctor at their office, but it's 2 weeks to get in. Or then your only other option is to go to the ER. And so you're stuck there for 6 hours in this terrible environment there. And now no one who, anyone who's a doctor or a nurse dislikes the environment that you're working in also. And so you got a bunch of people that aren't happy where they're at and you're not feeling well. So why don't we do this in their home? Why don't we do it in the most comfortable place, the best place for healing for a patient to be, and we bring it to them?
Yeah. Now, do you think, I know you mentioned like COVID kind of changed that. Do you think this was like changing before COVID and then COVID was just kind of like the tipping point?
I kind of think it is. I do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you think about Uber Eats, you think about, all the different services now that come to you and drop off groceries or delivery. And so I think that it opened the door to a wide variety of services that go to the home now. With that said, we also wanted the people that don't have insurance. Right now, that's a huge population.
Sure.
And an emergency room visit would be thousands of dollars, whereas we have a set fee for an evaluation, which we call them prescriptions, and evaluate you. Of course, there is kind of an a la carte type if there's extra things that we can do for you. But still, in the end, we find that people are so excited that we do all of this in the home, and it's much cheaper than going to a hospital and having to pay those payments every month for a long time.
And they don't enjoy going there.
Right.
Just not a fun place to be.
I mean, if you have a GI bug, that's the last thing you want to do is leave your home, right?
I remember we were coming back from a trip one time and I had like some sort of, stomach issue or whatever going on and I didn't know what it was, but so like I felt like I was not doing well. I needed to stop somewhere, right? So we ended up stopping at an urgent care on the way home. And this is like during COVID sometimes. I don't remember like at what point during COVID, but same thing. It's like you got to get all the tests, done, COVID test, flu test. And then you're there with all these other people and you're like, want to keep your distance a little bit, so just uncomfortable.
And the last thing you want to do when you're feeling sick, is to even roll out of bed. So,
and sit in a hospital for a couple hours.
You need the bathroom close by.
Right.
We're there to hydrate, stop the nausea, slow down things. And I mean, we've done IV fluids, walked into their bedroom, started their IVs, check their vital signs, make sure that they don't need further care. Now, we will absolutely consult somebody on the phone or telemedicine before we go out to the home. Is this something that we can take care of?
Oh, okay.
And if not, we have no qualms about sending you to the emergency room. You need to go to the emergency room.
This was our chance to practice medicine how we thought that medicine should be practiced, as opposed to following the policies of the hospital that you work in or the medical group that you work with of, no, get them into the office so we can get that copay. That's not why we started. We didn't start it for money. We started it to be able to provide the service that we think that how medicine should be practiced now.
Yeah.
And the feedback that we've gotten from all of our patients has been 100% positive. They love how we sit down with them, talk to them, really figure out what's going on with them. Each visit will be between 30 minutes to an hour, where we're sitting there and talking with the patient.
Yeah.
And they feel like that they're getting their value out of us and leading, if not fixing the problem, leading them down the road to where they are getting the specialists that they need. And then we feel like that we're practicing medicine how it should be done.
Yeah, the way you guys want to do it. So let's start with starting the business. Like you guys have this idea and now it's like, okay, do we actually do this or, do we continue doing what we're doing? Like, what was that like for you guys?
I'm very much the one of go, 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 go. Yeah. Like, this is a great idea. Let's go.
And I'm reeling them back.
Let's plan. Let's have everything mapped out.
Which makes us a good partnership.
Yeah. Every time I had an idea, she's like, okay, but did you look at this angle? Did you look at it that angle? And so it took us, relatively speaking, a short period of time when you talk about creating a business. But several months of putting the business plan together and getting the right things lined up and
Licenses,
and,
supplies.
and equipment, so, having our experience in the ER, patient comes in with a cut hand. What's all the equipment that we need?
Yeah.
And so we'd write everything down. And so now we have all the supplies that we need, and where do we get it? How do we get it? What wholesalers do we go to? How do we establish? So
how do you put it in 2 bags?
You had to carry it to the home.
Yeah.
So all of those processes, it took time that you never really thought of these hurdles that you had to cross to get there. But
So was that all kind of planned out the best you probably could, before you started the business, before you opened up the doors and started taking phone calls? Or did you just hey, we have some of the essentials, we can get started and then we'll figure out the rest as we go?
It's funny because you have to wait for certain licenses to come through. So we had a little bit of time between each thing, to get this license and to get that license, a dispensing license, and all of the different things. So while we're waiting, we're getting things put together.
Yeah.
So we had a start date, and we were like, this is what we want. We want start date March 1st. And I think that there was. Oh, it was.
no, I think we're talking about
medical.
January, and it got pushed back.
And it got
March.
pushed to March, because of the charting systems. So there's also the EMR, and getting set up with the right EMR. What do you need? What don't you need? And then they have to work on programs too. So, it's all in the mix during that time. But we finally were like, "That's it. We are go on this day."
Yeah,
and
you had everything you absolutely needed.
But when it comes to the treatment aspect and what we were going to take care of, we kind of had our list of these are the things that we're going to take care of, and these are the things that hard no, you need to go to the ER. You know, chest pain, shortness of breath, and abdominal pain. So things like that. Those are true emergency department type of issues. And so we get phone calls quite a bit of, hey, my mother is experiencing this, or I think my father is having this, and this is what, sure, we can come out and evaluate you, but we're not here to steal your money. I don't want to come out there and just tell you that, no, you really need to go to the hospital. So we do our best with trying to provide as much advice as we can prior to us coming out, and to make sure that it's appropriate for us to come out.
Yeah, and so that's where that phone call beforehand really comes into play. You're just kind of vetting out what's going on.
Right.
Can we provide the service that you need to? Yeah. So I guess we really I want to ask you guys what is urgent house calls? If people what all do you guys do, and kind of just kind of talk to us about that. What's up, Palm Harbor? It's your host, Donnie Hathaway. If you are looking to stay up to date with all things Palm Harbor, then visit my website. It's palmharborlocal.com. Super simple. You can sign up there, join the locals, where I'll be sharing more information on local events, local history, and what's happening in Palm Harbor. I really want to create and add more value to you as a listener for spending your valuable time tuning into my podcast. So join me there, keep listening, and remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.
It was funny. We were at the Valspar. We had a tent. We were trying to get people out there we're here. This is what we do.
So this is after you open your doors,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we had some flyers and pens and whatnot, just to kind of say, hey, here's our stuff. And they're like, well, no, we're good. I said, we came up with the lingo because we kept saying, no, you may not need us now, but you'll need us urgently, because it was one of those, what do you do? So we started explaining to people, we are an urgent care on wheels, basically. We can do just about anything that urgent cares would do. If you thought of, I need to go to urgent care, we would just come to you.
Yeah.
There's co-pays at urgent cares. And so it's just about the same, with the convenience almost fee to it. But anything from cough, colds, congestions, urinary tract infections, sores, skin tears. We've sewn up a thumb beside this guy's pool after he got off his boat.
Yeah.
He's like, I do not want to. I just had an amazing day. I cut my finger getting out of the boat.
Oh my!
So he went home, called us. We came over and cleaned it up, sewed it up, and he was like, "This is amazing."
Yeah.
So infection, cellulitis,
rapid testing. So we do COVID, flu, RSV, urinalysis.
pregnancy, of course, and I think that's it.
We also contract with Quest Diagnostics, and so let's say you believe that you have a urinary tract infection. We do a dipstick right there, and so we can determine whether or not that yes you do or no you don't, and we can start you on antibiotics that day. But we also take that urine and bring it into Quest. They process it, and so just like you would at a hospital or urgent care or rehab facility, 2 days later we'll end up getting the results from that culture, and we can, if the antibiotic that we started you on, we can change it to the appropriate antibiotic so that there isn't this reoccurrence.
Chest x-rays, ultrasounds.
Oh wow, you can do x-rays?
Yeah, we have a mobile service we've contracted with, and it was great. He was driving out. We had already put the order in. By the time he got to the house to arrive to do evaluation, the chest x-ray is being done. They go back, it gets read and sent to us on an email. He's already done his evaluation, done some testing. We follow up with the patient afterwards in a couple hours and say, you have pneumonia, you don't have pneumonia, this is how we're going to, wrap it up.
Yeah, very
It's kind of cool.
Recently we've come across a couple wound care issues, diabetic heel ulcers, had a pretty significant burn patient, and so we have also collected other resources throughout, the time that we've been open that, we don't work with them, but they're just those resources that we can hand out to those patients. So I saw them initially and then called up these wound care companies, home healthcare wound companies. They've been able to come out and service them also. And so it kind of, once again, they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to depend on somebody else. We're able to kind of complete that transition.
Yeah. So just partnering with other, other resources that are similar to like what you guys do. Yeah.
Referring one another to local businesses.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. No one can do everything great. And so we know that there's kind of this, narrow pathway, stay in your lane, do what you do well, and then we'll bring in other resources that they do theirs. Yeah. So, we're always looking for those specialists, orthopedics or,
We get a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
You go out. You don't want to sit in the ER again.
Yeah.
Or I can't bear weight on it. We can write prescriptions for ortho devices, crutches, all that kind of stuff, and then they can get a medical supply. We have some immobile type things. Of course, sometimes we may have to get on telemedicine to look at it and be like, "Ooh, that's stair stepped. You need to go to the ER. It needs to be reduced," or that type of thing. Yeah. I've done a ton of reductions. I just don't know if they would feel comfortable with me doing those in their living room. Yeah. But we can do it.
And once again, there's limitations. If you go into any urgent care, there's going to be a number of things that they're going to be like, "No, sorry, can't help you. You need to go to the ER." So if our goal is that if we can't actually fix the problem, we're going to get you in the direction that you can and give you the answers that you need.
Now, do you guys, so the phone call before, so someone calls up and says, hey, I have a wound that I need stitched up or whatever. So you guys vet them out on the phone as well before you come out. Do you also do just telemedicine visits where you can do,
Yeah. Some people just need a medication refill.
Right.
They can't get to the doctor for 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
I'm running out of my blood pressure meds. It's something that, on occasion people do all the time repetitively. And so their physicians aren't going to do it again for them. Unfortunately, it's like their learned lesson. So we've had people call up and just say, hey, I need my blood pressure meds refilled. Well, in order for us to feel comfortable with it, of course, we're going to talk to them, find out what their history is, what other meds they're taking, what other, and see if we can get them through until they can get to their doctor.
Yeah.
And some things are simple, simple conjunctivitis with the eyes. Okay. I can see that on telemedicine. Then. Yes. Okay. And then calling a prescription for them. But at the same time, I'm not a big fan of telemedicine. I think telemedicine has
its limits.
When you're evaluating a patient, there isn't anything like laying your hands on them, feeling their skin and actually getting a true evaluation. So telemedicine has its place, and I think it's for those limited occasions, those very simple things, medication refills. But I think for the most part, your provider needs to get their hands on you to really get a good evaluation, to have an honest assessment.
Yeah, it makes sense. What do you guys see as the future of healthcare? Do you see more services like what you guys are doing coming, becoming more popular?
I mean, we'd always love to say yes.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the way it's going.
Yeah.
Doctors, back to the doctor's bag, right?
Yeah. Or two, like what's changed since you guys have started practicing medicine and been involved in healthcare?
I just think in general, people are getting, fed up with just like kind of the status quo of, okay, it's going to be a month before I see my primary care, or my only other option is going to the ER and worst experience ever, know, and so, the marketplace is going to force services like us to be more and more prevalent and to kind of fill those voids, because there is this huge gap in care that we know is there. And so inevitably there's going to be more services like ours that are filling that need for the patient.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what about like your vision for urgent house calls? Like, do you guys? I'm sure you've added some services and stuff like you mentioned before since you first started. Where do you guys see this kind of going to in the next couple of years?
I think the biggest thing is just kind of the growth of it. So as we get our name out there and people understand that we're available to them, and that's kind of the biggest hurdle right now, is that getting our name out, and not saying that you have to come to us, but just know that we're an option, because urgent cares, hospitals, your primary cares, everyone does as well as they can do, and by all means, everyone for the most part does a very good job at what they do.
Sure.
It's just knowing that there's other options. And so for us, it's just getting our name out there, knowing that we are an option. And then as our brand continues to grow, it's us hiring more of the right people and then expanding our reach to be accessible to as many people as possible. Yeah. So not necessarily just in this area, but, spread throughout Florida.
I like it. Do you what are some, because I know we were talking before about you guys, like your experience as far as being business owners was zero before you started this business. So what are some challenges that you've had to overcome, like being business owners, or maybe like what's one big challenge that's been like the hardest hurdle for you guys to kind of overcome, or that you have kind of overcome?
To me, it's, we're medical providers. We're prior to this point, we've never been associated with doing any kind of billing or collecting money from patients.
Right.
And so because we are still small and it is really, us that's running it, we don't like how things are connected in, I'm going to provide you care and then I'm also going to collect money from you. I think in the future, as we grow, that's the biggest separation that we want to have, is disconnecting that business aspect from the provider aspect. I think that's been...
You can go online and pay before and book your appointment and everything, but then if we do procedures while we're there or testing, then you end up having to add on.
Sure.
So there's little things that we're still, again, tweaking or working through or getting a better system.
And we're very straightforward upfront with how we charge, what we charge. But it's just, once again, that separation between medical provider and biller that I think...
Actually, I mean, it makes sense.
Is that, so tell me more about that. Is that just because like that's like the way that it's done in medicine? It's like separating those two?
Well, I mean, it's always like corporation, right? You walk in the door, somebody's registering you. We're just... we walk in the door, there's this patient. We walk in, you do your assessment, you order your tests, you order your meds, we walk away. We never have to talk about anything. I will treat everybody. I don't care what your insurance is or how you're paying for it.
Yeah.
I'm treating you.
Yeah.
And so,
it just because we're not trained in that. We don't do the monetary transaction. And so, we just like the idea of separating that out and having, that secretary or that receptionist being able to manage that aspect and separate it out from the medical.
Yeah.
We have found a lot of population that has utilized our services are the children that live, with away, like California. We had a client from California and their parents are retired here. And they're like, I am not going to the emergency room. They're adamant. They're not doing it.
Yep.
Yes, they're not doing it. But they're away. They don't have eyes on them. They're like, I need somebody to go and look at them, know. And so we do have a lot of the population that are like, please go take care of my sister, or please go look at my granddaughter, or,
I like that. It's like someone checking in on your second home, right?
Yes.
Nice.
And then we give them a call, or we'll do a conversation on the phone with them, and they're like, I'm gonna outlive you, don't worry, and it's, you're laughing about it because you're like, no, he looks great. And, but they don't know, and oh God, they have COVID, and they're 90 years old, and
I just need somebody to check on them.
Absolutely. Check their oxygen, make sure there's not something that they need.
Yeah, that's super cool. So one thing I kind of like to ask everybody that comes on the podcast is, outside of work and what you guys are doing with your business, what do you guys like to do for fun?
We have traveled. We just got back from Vegas last weekend,
Ooh, okay.
but we went to California during the summer. We have 2 girls, so we like to do everything and anything with them, lobstering and snorkeling and whatever.
I was born and raised in St. Pete, and so I grew up fishing and golfing.
Nice.
Our girls are both very active, so anything that gets them dirty and running around, it's
outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
But cool. So we've done trips down to the Keys, and
North
boating
Carolina.
and snorkeling, and like you said, lobstering, and
going through the caves up there and
up in North Carolina.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite spots? So you were born and raised in St. Pete, you said. Did you grow up here as well? Or?
No, I'm a military brat. So
okay.
I have been all over. But Destin I went to high school up there in Fort Walton Beach and grew up kind of in Destin area. Okay. So
what's one of your favorite spots around here, like in Pinellas County, or it could be anything, outdoors, restaurant, whatever it is?
I don't know. We go everywhere, so I'm trying to think.
And then also kind of homebodies at the same time.
Yeah, right. With the kids, it's nice to to me, the beaches is why you live here. But during the summertime, it's just too hot to even be out there. Yeah,
you won't see us.
No.
October, yes,
like catching a sunset or something like that. But that's that's cool. Well, how can people get more information from you guys and get in contact with y'all?
We have the website, which is phenomenal because you can book an appointment on there. You can see our services, what the fees are, and you can go through. It's a program that you can pay, book the appointment, and then we'll give you a text message or call you and say, hey, we received it. This is what's happening. So that's a good, obvious way to do it. And then the phone number. We've had Google, just urgent cares or urgent home care, that kind of thing. That's the one big, I think, obstacle that we've had is that people think that we're home health care. We are not home health care. We do. We provide services to evaluate and treat current acute things, but we don't usually do chronic. Now we have helped out with wound cares and whatnot because they only get 4 days a week with wound care. So we have been helping out with certain patients that absolutely need our help. We're not going to try. That's what, again, we're here to help people.
Take care of people. Yeah, I like that. So the website, and we'll link all that stuff in the description below.
Perfect.
But I appreciate you guys being here.
We loved it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for listening to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I really hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. Now, if you're looking to connect with the guest or just get more information on the episode, then you can check the description below. I'll have all the links in the episode as well as a link back to my website. It's palmharborlocal.com, where you can stay up to date on what's going on with the podcast and sign up there to join the locals. Let's get after it this week. And remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.